Hi guys, welcome back to my sourdough baking recipe series, whatever we have going on here. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make a focaccia bread, focaccia, whatever you want to call it. It's like super fluffy, super airy. It's great for sandwiches. It's great for like mini personal pizzas. You can also make it into pizza by just adding like sun-dried tomatoes and things like that. But anyway, this is gonna be like a basic focaccia, like just rosemary and salt. Nice and light, so you can use it for sandwiches, side pieces to, oh my gosh, meatball sandwiches and things like that. But anyway, again, super easy recipe. You're gonna need something like this as a vessel, or any type of 9x13 pan that has a lid, or that you can cover for 4 to 12 hours. 12 hours gives you nice volume to your focaccia bread. 4 hours is still good, but not the same amount of like dimples and texture that I like to look for in my focaccia. So super simple. I can take everything to the table back here and film it. Our vessel here. Flour. Okay, and I call these like one pan recipes, which is so nice and so convenient, but it's the same staples as we had before. Whoa! We're just doing it a little differently. Leave this guy here. So we're going with 50 grams of starter. Okay. And so now that I have just that little bit left in my starter jar, now I would put in another 40 grams of flour, and because this one's got a good volume already, I'd put 30 grams of water, mix it again, leave it back on my counter. So now that I have my 50 grams of starter, I'm gonna set that again. My water, it is 430 grams of water for this recipe, and it's warm water. So like you can put your fingers in it and it feels nice. It's not hot and it's not cold. Okay, so I got 300 there, and I'm going to need a bit more. 430. Perfect. So we're gonna do the exact same thing as we did with the basic sourdough loaf, which is just get your starter mixed into here. It doesn't look the same as like with the sourdough, like the really as cloudy. It's cloudy, but it's not as cloudy because there's a lot less starter to a lot more water. Now that you have like your murky sourdough water, you can put her back on the scale, hit the thing again, and get all your flour in. And this time the flour is 520. And also the salt is 10 grams again. So I'm gonna do the salt, right? I have my phone here, by the way, because I can remember like my sourdough like numbers all the time. But I haven't memorized my focaccia numbers yet, and I don't know why, but I'll eventually get to it. But it's 520 flour now, so that's quite a lot of flour. Mm-hmm. 440, 500, 520. Okay. Just stir that all in there till you make the perfect doughy consistency. And you can use your hands as well. I do find it convenient, especially because I'm doing it in a rectangle pan, to get the corners with with my hands. But we're gonna scrape in all the flour that you can and then let it sit for 30 minutes. And then we are gonna perform a stretch and fold technique with this dough. Once we have it as a shag here, we're gonna leave it for 30 minutes and then come back to it. So we are going to do the stretch and fold process of the focaccia bread here. So we've let it sit for 30 minutes. It has spread out significantly. What we're going to do is take about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I just guess. And we're going to do like a slap and fold process, which is taking this corner, pulling it as high as it goes, and putting it down. And then you're gonna scoop, pull the next corner, as high it goes, put it down. And keep repeating this process. You don't want it to rip, you just want it to pull and fold it on top of itself. It's very therapeutic, it's very relaxing until you get all 4 corners done. So now that I have all 4 of the corners done, sometimes I do it again or flip it over so it's in a nice mass here. As you can see, it's looking very doughy now. So now we're literally going to let it rest here on the counter for the next, well, 12-ish hours. I'm gonna put it in at the same time as the other sourdough that we got started earlier today. I'm just like feeling it out for the texture here. You don't have to do that. I'm just also talking at the same time, so I'm just, you know, fingering the bread for fun, I guess. But as long as you got all your dough and you've done your 4 corners, you're good to go. Put the lid back on. We're just gonna leave her there. Wow, I hope you guys are ready for this. So this is the focaccia the next day after we've let it have a good rise. So literally all we're gonna do is put more olive oil on this and shove our fingers into the bread to make little pockets, and then put little sprigs of rosemary in it and bake it in the oven. And I'm going to bake it, I'm going to bake it at the same time as the other sourdough loaf that I just finished for the part 2 of the sourdough beginner video. So as I was saying, all we're gonna do is pour a little bit more olive oil onto the top of the bread here. And then we're gonna take our fingers and literally just poke little fun little holes all over the bread here, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. And you don't want to put your holes, like sometimes there's pockets, like little holes in the bread, like air pockets. You want to leave those. You want those to get as much volume as possible. Love that. So that's what she looks like when she's got her pockets in. And I just grabbed some rosemary from my garden, and I'm going to just shove that like lightly on top here. A couple sprigs here and there. Okay. I really love rosemary. I love how it tastes on bread. Just love it, period. It's like one of my favorite herbs. So I'm probably gonna use the whole thing just because I really do like it. So just, that way is the easiest way. Looks like with her rosemary in her. Sometimes if you prepare ahead, which I didn't really, sometimes I'll put a sheet of brown paper underneath here as well, or give it that layer of olive oil before making the dough to begin with, just so it has the least likely amount of chance of sticking to your pan. Even though there's a ton of olive oil on the top, it doesn't quite get underneath sometimes, so then when you're pulling it out after you've baked it, it sometimes can be a little sticky, but this one's gonna be so good. So I'm just gonna sea salt it, or flaky salt it, and then this is gonna go in the oven with the other loaf here in like 15 minutes. Okay guys, so the oven is set to 430. I have my Dutch oven still in there. The sourdough loaf in there earlier today, and the Dutch oven's still really hot, and I don't want to pull the Dutch oven out and let the temperature change too much, and that leads to cracking and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to take my lovely focaccia here, pop it in the oven beside the Dutch oven here, and bake it at 430 for 20 to 25 minutes. I'm gonna go 20 to start. 20, 20 minutes, and we'll check on it in 20 minutes. So I would caution you, if you are a perfectionist, you gotta like really throw that out the window when it comes to baking, doing sourdough, and doing like literally any sort of baking, I feel like. Because the temperature for sourdough, like for instance, the way that you do the starter, the temperature is different than the way that you do the bread or this and that. Like you can't control every single variable all the time. Unless you're in like a chef kitchen where you can control the variable all the time. But don't be such a perfectionist. It tastes good every single time. Even if it like doesn't rise, even if it over rises, like it always tastes good. So don't stress about the little things and just have fun with it. All right, so the focaccia has been in there for 20 minutes. We're gonna take a peek at it here and see how it's looking. Oh my God, it looks so good. Okay, so it's not quite as like crispy as I'd like it to be yet. I'm gonna leave it for like, like 5 more minutes, just so it gets a little more golden on top, and then we are good to go. It sounds so nice. The sizzle. Okay, now see that extra like 5 minutes was the perfect amount to just get the tiniest bit of goldenness onto it. Like how beautiful is that? Wow. So that one I am gonna let cool or else I can't get it out of the pan. And then we're gonna cut it up and use it for sandwiches later. Do like a fried, like a panko fried chicken type of sandwich. That's another thing you can do if your loaf gets like too gluey. Cut it into a bunch of pieces, let it dry on the counter for a couple days, add seasoning if you want to, and then either use it for croutons or let it dry out completely and put it through the blender or food processor, and now you have your own homemade like breadcrumbs for on top of chicken or any other recipe that requires it. But yeah, yay, sourdough series. That one, we nailed this focaccia. I'm obsessed.